Hello and welcome to another video. So today I am doing a very exciting video which might also turn out to be a very controversial video. I have never been shy about saying what I actually think on this channel, and I've actually made I think 2 videos on kind of unpopular opinions. I made one on things I hate about the books I love, and the other one is everything wrong with the Heroes of Olympus. So you guys know how I feel about those books, like 100%. So this time I thought that instead of telling you guys about my unpopular opinions on the Percy Jackson and the Heroes of Olympus book series, I would look at some of you guys' opinions. And by you guys' I mean basically unpopular opinions from the whole fandom. So I scoured the internet and I looked through not hundreds, like a couple of them, like 4 or 5 different sites with different unpopular opinions regarding those 2 book series. I think I stuck to those 2 only. And now I'm going to pull them out of this beautiful Percy mug and see what controversy I agree with and that I disagree with. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Have to shuffle them a bit so they're not in the same order that I wrote them. Okay, I think we're ready. Let's go. Okay, first unpopular opinion is a long one. Okay, we're starting off with something juicy. Okay, let's see. I hate Annabeth. She was mean to Tyson because of a previous bad encounter with a Cyclops. She's a Mary Sue, knew how to pilot a helicopter on her first try, and she's also not like other girls. So there's a lot to unpack on this unpopular opinion. I'll go little by little. The first thing is that they hate Annabeth because she was mean to Tyson because of a previous bad encounter. And I kind of get why you would not like her because of this, because she seems very prejudiced and very mean and quick to judge someone. But to that, I raise you this. It wasn't only a bad encounter. They explained this to us in The Lightning Thief. It was actually that on their way to Camp Half-Blood, Grover got distracted and led them straight into a Cyclops trap. And basically what that Cyclops did was separate them, and since they can mimic voices, they used that to target each of the kids, so Talia, Luke, and Annabeth. And if that traumatic experience wasn't enough, that Cyclops was the reason they were delayed long enough that when they reached Camp Half-Blood, it was already too late, and Talia had to stay behind to fend off the monsters and basically save Grover's, Annabeth, and Luke's lives. So basically she was mean because a Cyclops, just like Tyson, was the reason her best friend was dead. So I think it's kind of understandable. We can cut Annabeth some slack, especially because by the end of the book, she'd already accepted him and accepted that she was in the wrong. So I feel like I don't agree with you there at all. Let's see though what else you said. She's a Mary Sue, knew how to pilot a helicopter on first try. I don't know if the person who wrote this opinion likes Leo or not, but I'm pretty sure from all the unpopular opinions I saw, no one said that Leo was a Mary Sue. And you know what Leo does in The Lost Hero? He pilots a helicopter on first try. Annabeth only lands the helicopter, okay? Really badass. I think landing a helicopter would be much easier than actually doing like a whole flight, like takeoff, flight, and landing like Leo does. You could say that Leo knows how because he's the son of Hephaestus, so it's kind of like in his blood. But Annabeth is a daughter of Athena, and she says in the book when she does this that she's read like plans, you know, the helicopter plans or whatever they're called, and she studied helicopters before. Not to mention his dad built his own plane in his house. So I think she knows like the layout and how things work like in a basic level, and I do believe that Annabeth is badass enough to land a plane on her first try. Not to mention I don't think she could like fly it all the way there, so I don't think she's a Mary Sue at all. She has a lot of flaws, like this person previously mentioned on her Tyson comment, so I don't know how those two can go together, honestly. And for the last part of the comment, it was not like other girls. And this one I can kind of see it because honestly, let's face it, Rick kind of writes a lot of not like other girls, but I don't know, I don't think she's the character we should be focused on for this comment. I just think she doesn't have a lot of female friends, but because she doesn't have a lot of friends in general, because she's very guarded, so I don't know, I can kind of see this one, but at the same time, next unpopular opinion is the movies were good. I don't know if I should take this seriously or not, but okay, let me approach this in like a serious manner and not take this as like a meme. But honestly, I think objectively, as a movie and not obviously as an adaptation, the first movie was okay. To tell you the truth, I watched it long before I read the books and I enjoyed it. But that cannot be said for the second movie. The second movie, as a movie in and of itself, is a bad movie. And as an adaptation, it's even worse. So, there's that. And that's all I'm gonna say on the movies today.
Let's see what else we have. Come on, give me something juicy. This is juicy.
Percy shippers go too far. Honestly, I like to say that I'm very into fandom and I actually enjoy it, but that is to say that I'm not actually on Twitter, and that's where most of like the ship wars and the discourse and the arguments actually happen. So I feel like I've dodged many bullets and I'm mostly on the non-toxic part of the fandom because honestly, I read the books, I read fanfic, and I really enjoy fan art, but I don't go into those like actual discussions and arguments. So I feel like Percy shippers can be a little bit toxic because actually from what I've read, I didn't know this before, but I'm like actually finding this out right now, and I think they're right. Percy shippers go too far because for them, Percabeth is the only valid ship, not in like the whole series, but between Percy and Annabeth. So Percy can't be shipped with anyone else but Annabeth, and Annabeth can only be shipped with Percy. And this is especially worrying when you see all of Annabeth-centric fanfics are always like, they always revolve around Percy. So it's kind of, I wouldn't say toxic, but kind of problematic. Anyone can ship whatever they want, and that doesn't make what you ship any less like good or valid. As long as you're not shipping like siblings or someone with a minor, you know, like creepy things that should be illegal, as long as your ship is legal, that's where I draw the line. As long as it's legal, you're free to ship anything you want. Also, kind of like interspecies is kind of weird, but you know, if it's legal, you do you, and let others ship whatever they want. Them shipping Rachel doesn't mean that you can't ship Percabeth and be friends. So please, it's 2020, let people ship whatever they want, as long as it's legal.
Okay, so I still have like a lot of them here, so I don't know how long this video is gonna be because
when I rant. Colangelo is overrated. Nico didn't need to be in a relationship, he was better off alone. So, this one, I'm glad I got it because, I obviously got it, I wrote them down, but basically I completely disagree with you. I think Solangelo, a lot of people like it because obviously we don't get a lot of representation in the books. We like to say that Rick is very progressive and he's adding more representation as he goes, but in all honesty, we don't have that many like LGBTQ plus characters and especially LGBTQ plus ships. And Nico and Will is the biggest ship of them all, besides obviously Magnus and Alex. But going back to them, I think it's very good for Nico's arc, because basically in The Last Olympians,
it's too unpopular of an opinion, it nearly killed me. Okay.
Basically, Nico's journey goes from hating who he is in the Percy Jackson and the Olympus series to kind of having to accept in a very brutal way who he is and coming to terms with that. Nico's journey shouldn't be being alone, then hating himself, then coming to terms with himself, and then being alone again. It should be him being alone, hating himself, accepting himself in such a way that he accepts himself and accepts others into his life, because we don't want Nico moping and being sad and emo by himself. He can do that with friends. And you know, I think for his arc, which is coming to accept his own sexual orientation, it's really nice for him to end up in a very healthy relationship. So that is what I think. I don't know if you can tell, I really ship Solangelo. I love them with all of my heart, and I really, really hope they get a standalone in the future.
Let's see. Oh, another long one. Ah, great.
Leo is a bully and really annoying since he won't stop flirting with pretty girls. I would say I agree like 45% with this comment. I think that Leo can be a bully, especially to Frank in an unnecessary way. Obviously, I mean, bullying is never necessary, but he was super mean to Frank, and that like really took some points away from his character, because I obviously really loved him in the first like read through the series, because who didn't? He is kind of mean, and he always like says that it's just his way of dealing with his insecurities. Like, humor is a way for people not to see how much he's hurting inside, but that's all completely fine. Who doesn't do that? But when you reach the point that you're making fun of someone like in such a way that it's bullying just so they won't see that you're hurting inside, that's where we draw the line, Leo. So the part that he's very annoying because he keeps flirting with like the pretty girls, I kind of agree. I thought he was kind of annoying, like flirting with any female that lived and breathed. He flirted with Echo, literally a ghost that could only say what he already said, so like repeat what he said. And then he flirts with Talia after she tells him that she's not like into guys or people at all. So yeah, Leo, stop flirting with everything, please. Just like calm down. Calm down is what I want to say to Leo, basically.
Next unpopular opinion is...
Heroes of Olympus focus too much on the Greeks and not enough on the Romans. This is a very interesting unpopular opinion, because I don't think that's that unpopular, honestly. I think a lot of people feel this way. I mean, I've seen in my comments that people want books from the perspective of the romance and more like guidebooks from the romance, and they want to know more about Camp Jupiter, and I totally agree. I think Rick like gives each of his mythologies a series. So for the Greek one, it was Percy Jackson and the Olympians. For the Norse one, it was Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard. Then the Egyptian one, it was the King Chronicles. And instead of doing the Roman one for Heroes of Olympus, he kind of leaned into a combination of the two. When I feel like if you're going to do a series per mythology, you should focus more on that mythology. On Rick's defense, you can kind of see that Roman mythology is version 2.0 of Greek mythology, so there really isn't that much separation. But I agree. 4 of the 7 were Greek, and then only 3 of the 7 were Roman, and then when we get more characters, they're mostly Greek. So yes, I do agree that maybe Rick should have focused more on the Roman. But if you haven't read Trials of Apollo, you should definitely do that, because there's a lot of focus on Rome, especially since the bad guys are Roman emperors.
I might have to turn this into 2 videos, so stay tuned for that.
Leo should have died. Damn, we're just coming for Leo right now with these last unpopular opinions. And I can't really, honestly, truthfully say that I 100% disagree with this. If you've seen my Everything Wrong with the Heroes of Olympus video, you know that I think that 1 of the 7 should have died, or some more important characters should have died. Because I think like maybe a couple of minor characters die, but I'm not sure if they do. The only big character death that I remember is Octavian, and he was the bad guy, so that was kind of a given. I don't think anyone expected him to get a redemption arc, but honestly, I feel like it would have been much more impactful if one of the 7 had died in the Heroes of Olympus. Because we all know what happens afterwards if you read Trials of Apollo, but I think it would have been more impactful. Obviously, I love all of them and I don't want them to die, but I feel like Blood of Olympus would have been a way better book if it had had any consequence on that immediate book. Because it does have consequences in the future, but I would have liked to see the consequences in that book. Let's see. Percy and Annabeth is super overrated, and they become worse characters in Heroes of Olympus. They have no flaws and they always win no matter what. Okay, let's study this part by part. Percy and Annabeth are super overrated. Honestly, I don't think they are. I think they're rated just enough. I love Percy and a lot of people love him, and Annabeth, I mean, how could they not? How could the fandom not love them if they're basically the only characters we get to see in the future that have 5 books solely focused on developing them. So basically what I'm trying to say is that Grover also gets a lot of development in Percy Jackson in the Olympians, but he doesn't appear in that much in later books. So the people we see get developed the most are Percy and Annabeth, and then we see them get developed kind of even further in the Heroes of Olympus, and then they pop up Buck again in Magnus Chase and in the Trials of Apollo. So basically what I'm saying is, if we get 2 characters that have popped up in more than 10 books and have gotten kind of development through all of them, it's easy to see why people would feel so attached to those 2 specifically. Because I feel like the more content you get from a character, the easier it is to really, really love them. And I wouldn't say they have no flaws or always win, because Tartarus, but I do believe that they're not worse characters, but they're not as good in Heroes of Olympus as they are in The Last Olympian. Why do I keep calling it The Last Olympian? In Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Simply because their characters aren't focused so much on themselves or on the quest as they are on each other. And again, as I said in my other video, I think this is because Rick thought that he should take more of a romance approach because it was a young adult series, instead of doing the more quest adventure approach that he took in Percy Jackson and the Olympians. But I do really enjoy their characters much more in the first series. But that's just me. Jason Grace is a Mary Sue. Okay, this one I was looking forward to getting. I kind of agree, but at the same time, I would have to say, no, because
if he were a Mary Sue, I feel like more people would like him. So I feel like Jason Grace is not a Mary Sue, but I could totally see how someone would think that. I think that, especially in the later books, you can kind of see that he's not a Mary Sue, but that's how other people see him. Especially, Hazel probably thinks that Jason is a Mary Sue, but I feel like he isn't. But I definitely think that's the vibe he gives people, that's the vibe he gives me, but because we're in his head, we see that he really isn't perfect. But yeah, I feel like that's definitely the vibe he has. But he's deeper than that, even I have to admit that.
Okay, so we're halfway there and I still have so many left, so I think I'm turning this into a 2-parter, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did. Comment down below which unpopular opinions you agree or disagree with, and if you have more that I haven't talked about, I might talk about them in the second part, but let me know either way. And please subscribe, click that bell button so you get notifications every time I post a new video. I post every Monday and Friday, and yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye!